Welcome back to the Blissful Badger. In the last 2 months or so, I started collecting Marvel Crisis Protocol. I've found it quite interesting to paint up minis of superheroes and villains, and it's been pretty fun to play too. With the recent purchases that I've done, I've gathered quite a few different minis, and I figured I need to know which order I'm going to paint these things. So, with the recent release of Kraven, and since I own the Kraven the Hunter model, I figured, why not paint it up? So the first step was I went online and I found some reference photos. And there are a couple of key things I've noticed about his coloring, and that was the leopard spots, the zebra print, and the lion. So once I had a reference photo in place, I decided I would start by dry brushing, not with a grayscale like I would normally paint, but with a brown scale. So the first step after prime was a dry brush of mahogany brown. I followed that up with a slightly less heavy dry brush of beige brown, a lighter dry brush of cork brown, and a final light dry brush of ivory. This gave the model a much warmer feel to it than most of the dry brushes that I usually do. Now, since fur takes to speed painting quite well, I decided to start with a sand golem speed paint over the fur. To finish off the vest, I did a speed paint of pallid bone. For the pants, I decided that 2 coats of watered down ochre brown would be best. And it was quite watered down. It was almost a glaze. And it allowed the dry brush to slightly fade through, so I didn't have to go back with a wash later on. While that was drying, I did a speed paint of grim black over the hair. And then I did the third coat of ochre brown on the pants. For the skin tone, I decided to use basic skin tone, and I focused mainly on the highlights. I wanted these to be more noticeable on the finished project. And while that was drying, I decided hardened leather would work well on the bindings, on the arms and legs. Once that was dry, I went back with another thinned layer of the basic skin tone, and I allowed it to go into the recesses so that the black was not as noticeable. I followed that up with a Gilliman flesh wash and allowed that to dry. While it was drying, I hit the pelt in the front and the back with ivory and oily steel for the weapons, for the blades. I did another highlight of skin tone, quite light here. I just wanted to highlight. And a light gray dry brush on the hair. The lion's eyes were given a malignant green speed paint. And then I went to the bricks on the base and used the Slaughter Red that I normally use for bricks for my Marvel Crisis Protocol models. I hit the boots with Grim Black speed paint. I used rough iron for the sign Do not feed the animals, please. And I finished the concrete off with the Gravelord Grey. I did an extremely thinned magic blue wash over the feathers, just to add a little bit of contrasting color. It's barely noticeable, but it's there. And then it was time for the dark gray zebra stripes. I've been getting a little bit of practice with tiger stripes and zebra stripes in the past few months, and I'm enjoying the look. I need to spend a little bit more time on that, but overall, Kraven looks pretty good here. And since I used dark gray over the ivory, I didn't want to go pure black with the spots on the pants, so I chose black red. And it took a little bit of time to actually dot all of these spots, but in the end, they look pretty nice. So, with a quick Nuln wash on the sign and a quick black coat over the base rim, this model is done. I had a lot of fun painting this, and I put more time and effort into it than I normally do. I believe I had 29 steps to this, whereas I usually do 6 to 10. So I took a lot more time, a lot more effort, and I love the way that it came out. Hopefully you enjoyed this video as much or more than Kraven the Hunter, the movie. It's only been out for a day or so for me. I might go watch it. I haven't really decided yet. I think the only movie I've watched that came out this year was Deadpool and Wolverine, so I should probably watch some more movies. Let me know what you thought about my model, and if you did see Kraven the Hunter, what did you think about that movie? Subscribe if you haven't, so that you don't miss any future videos. I also want to thank my patrons and supporters for making these videos possible. And until next time, I hope you find your bit of bliss.